So this right here is one of the most famous action movie gags of all time, courtesy Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a great moment and a perfect joke, maybe the best of its type in the whole franchise, because it encapsulates everything that the action, chase, fun parts are trying to accomplish in terms of updating the familiar tropes of the adventure serial genre. Everyone who's seen a movie has seen this scene somewhere before. A hero rounds a corner, the crowd parts to reveal the bad guy, who's bigger and meaner than the other bad guys with a darker costume, scarier beard, and a special weapon he clearly specialized with. This is it, time for the set-piece fight scene, and or in other parlance, the boss fight. Oh no, wait, Indy remembers he's carrying a pistol and just shoots the guy, surprises the audience by catching them off guard with a funny beat, reestablishes that despite being a good guy, fighting the baddest of the really, really bad guys, Indiana Jones in the first movie is still a pretty roguish, dark dude who will just casually murder your ass to shave a minute or two off the foot chase and setting up the gut punch of thinking Marion is dead a moment later. I've also seen people who do weird, scary takes on this where it's supposedly like a metaphor for technological supremacy because a common handgun easily beats centuries-honed elite martial scimitar discipline, and or that it's like a racist scene because it's showing Western forward thinking, innovation, and individuality being superior to Eastern reliance on tradition and the old ways, i.e. God didn't make all men equal, Samuel Colt did, which, no, that's a big reach, guys, and really unnecessary because if you wanted to get into an Indiana Jones movie for being racist, the next one is sitting right there. Now, by the way, I assume in 2019 everyone is probably a yes on this point, but just in case, we all know that this scene was a happy accident too, right? Like, this was supposed to be a big whip versus sword fight scene, and the bad guy was a trained master swordsman. The problem was Harrison Ford was in lousy shape that day. I think he had like food poisoning or dysentery or something, and if you pause it, you can see he looks terrible. And he was like, you know, Steve Spielberg, in real life, wouldn't Indy just shoot this guy? So that's what they did. Anyway, one other big reason this gag and variations on this gag are so effective is that when you do it right, they make the audience feel like they're participating in the experience. It's the action movie equivalent of everyman comedy. The audience cheers or laughs because what happened is cool and unexpected, but they get a charge out of recognizing, oh yeah, that makes sense, or I noticed that doesn't usually happen and it bugs me, or I feel like I would do that. Here's a version from Punisher Warzone, which came out right at the tail end of when American action directors were just finding out what parkour was and people were getting a little sick of it. It's an underrated movie. And of course, this is also why everyone loves Rod and Get Out.
Don't go to a white girl parents' house.
Oh, shit!
Chris, you gotta get the up out of there, man. You in some eye wide shut situation. Leave, mother.
Could you hold on 1 second?
Okay.
Okay, hold on. You lying bitch. She is lying like a mother.
Now, the original Die Hard pretty much does this shtick for the whole movie via the fact that it was novel back in that moment in the early 80s when action guys were shaped differently by completely legal and safe natural means, of course. To have cast the lead with Bruce Willis back when he was known for being a young guy who looked kind of old as opposed to an old guy who's actually seems to be taking pretty good care of himself, honestly. Just having John McClane be this grumpy, done-with-it regular guy about being stuck in an absurd action movie premise.
Mayday, mayday, anyone copying Channel 9? Terrorists have seized the Nakatomi building and are holding at least 30 people hostage. I repeat.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
No shit, lady! Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Now, of course, more recently, there's the Marvel movies. Yes, you can't talk about successfully getting over with movie audiences and not somehow get back around to today's reigning box office champions of the last decade or so. Marvel lives and dies by sending audiences home remembering having had a pretty good time overall, punctuated by 4 or 5 individual moments where they were having an amazing time.
Underoos! Tea? I don't drink tea. What do you drink? Not tea.
Holy shit!
And you can tell the MCU loves the, ha, that's an unexpected payoff to a familiar setup punchline, and also the, that's what would happen but you never see it in movies, and or that's what I would do chaser a lot, because they use it all the time. Remember in the first Iron Man when it looks like we're going to get the big sequel setup establishing the tedious secret identity status quo that everyone's sick of in superhero movies, but then...
I am Iron Man.
Or that scene in the first Captain America when the Hydra guy does the, I'm gonna throw a kid in the water so you have to rescue him instead of catching me, but then the kid's just like,
go get him! I can swim!
Big applause moment in theaters. Or the first Hulk when they set up like we're probably gonna get the kind of hard to buy fight scene between a regular sized guy with enhanced powers and the Hulk, but instead... No, not so much. And then there's Paul Rudd asking the obvious question that audiences had started to ask of all the solo movies in the first Ant-Man.
I think our first move should be calling the Avengers.
The big chain behaving like a big chain in Thor Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. The fall of Asgard. The great prophecy.
Hang on. I'll be back around shortly. Do I really feel like we were connecting there?
And of course, the ultimate example in The Avengers, actually keeping consistent about any fight being over the minute the Hulk shows up and not just fudging it because it's against the main bad guy.
Puny God.
And yes, a very specific version of this gag, which it's too early to spoil still, shows up very prominently as one of the biggest moments of Captain Marvel. In context, likely helping to explain how a relatively small-scale in-between feature for the series is now well on its way to the billion-dollar club somewhat unexpectedly. People like to feel like they're in on the joke, even if they're just watching. I'm Bob, and that's The Big Picture.